And welcome! Hey there folks, welcome along to the Helium Down Under channel. My name is Ian, I'm your host for this video and for most of the content here on the Helium Down Under channel. This channel is focused on helium, HNT, the Internet of Things / IoT, with a really big focus on the AU 915 frequency band region, otherwise known as the ANZAC region, Down Under, Australia, New Zealand, you call it what you like. Now, just this week, LINXDOT and Sensecap have started taking orders for the AU 915 frequency band, and that's been so exciting for us down here. Of course, we do have other distributors and manufacturers that a lot of Aussies and Kiwis have purchased through, but the stock from those particular manufacturers and companies are still some way off, and we had no fresh supplies. Now with LINXDOT and Sensecap, we are super happy down here because we can see that by Christmas we are going to have a huge network built. With the recent price increases of HNT coupled up with the fact that Australia and New Zealand now has these new distributors, there is an enormous amount of interest in the helium opportunity here in Australia, in helium and of course the Internet of Things. Of course, up until a few weeks ago, the big question was, where do we get our hotspots and when are we going to get our hotspots? That side of things has now been taken care of. Those two distributors, Sensecap and LINXDOT, will now be shipping quite regularly to Australia, and you can place an order. If this is the first time viewing this video, you can place an order right now for LINXDOT or Sensecap, but just be aware that it will probably be a month to 2 months before you receive your order. And if this is the first time viewing one of these videos, we have actually secured a special discount code that will give you a few dollars off the purchase price, and I'll put those details down in the comments of the video if you'd like to take advantage of that. But anyway, on to the subject of tonight's call, and this is to address the new number one question, or in fact there are a bulk of questions that I'm going to address in this one video here. We are going to address the top secret tips to helium success. All right, but before we go too much into the content of this, which I know that everybody is very eager to watch, guys, I do want to just sort of put a few things out there. So number one, what is the reason for me doing this video and all of the videos that I produce here on the Helium Down Under channel? And of course, with Bryce and the early adopters on the Facebook page and on our AU 915 Discord channel and the likes, guys, why do we do this? Well, we do it because we want to help build the people's network. This is a network where if you are succeeding, then we can all leverage off that and all see success. So my intent is to help you as much as I possibly can. But whilst in the past I have had a very active interest in radio and RF modulation, guys, I don't have any technical skills or qualifications per se. I don't have a PhD or a doctorate or anything. So anything that I have, it's just through my own experiences that I have researched or that I have used. I don't have any special skills in IoT, but the fact is what I see is that it is absolutely an enormous growth industry. And I not only want to obviously build a helium network to leverage off proof of coverage and data transfer, but I actually aim to leverage off the helium network to produce an IoT business, actually selling sensors and finding solutions for people. Because guys, I mean, this is really super exciting. We can all get very focused and narrowed in on the whole proof of coverage and helium. And I have seen many people ask these questions in the Discord and the Facebook group. They're going, yeah, this is really nice. This is fantastic. But guys, what are we going to use this for? I mean, if we don't have a use case for it, it's like a deck of cards, a house of cards rather, that's going to fall over at some point. And many people may look at it as being a bit of a Ponzi scheme or a pyramid scheme. Well, guys, the Internet of Things is true technology that is here in Australia today and has already been in Australia for about the last 8 years. I think it's somewhere around that age. People are using it. Businesses are using the Internet of Things today, and it is a vast array of companies that are providing sensors and services in this space. Helium is just going to be a new player. It's the people's network. It is going to be decentralized. It's going to have a lot of benefits. It, of course, it won't be able to win in every area, but I do see that it is going to be a fantastic industry. All right, so I'm not an expert in IoT, nor am I an expert in finances, in crypto, or anything like that. So guys, I urge you to make your own research, do your own research before you invest any money in crypto or in cryptocurrency hardware, and obviously the hardware that I'll be talking about here tonight on the call. Make sure you do your own research. So on to the secret tips, of course, which is what you want to hear. You don't want to hear me babble and ramble on all night. Number one, it's all about the good location. Location, location, location. You've heard the real estate agents talk about it. Now I'm going to talk about it. This is the number one thing that you can have on your side in your helium journey is a good location. But what makes a good location, I hear you say? Well, of course, the way that we are going to be generating an income for the foreseeable future is through proof of coverage. Now, proof of coverage requires you to have multiple hotspots. Those were hotspots talking to one another. That's how you generate HNT. We are proving that the network is actually sound so that Helium can go and take that proof and basically sell that to businesses to power their Internet of Things solutions, whatever it may be. But the hotspots that are out there, what makes a good location for you is when you have got a lot of those hotspots within your general area that are in your line of sight. So if you have got a dirty big hill or a mountain in the middle of you and a big wad of hotspots, that's not a good location. Okay, if you are looking to tap into those ones over there, you need to be line of sight. So essentially, it is just like if you can see it, then your hotspot is going to be able to hit it. Theoretically, here we're looking at 5 to 10 kilometers is what the likely range will be of your hotspot if you optimize it in the way that I'm going to be discussing in this video. But there are many, many cases here in Australia already where hotspots are reaching out 25 and 30 kilometers. And if you go to the States and Europe where people are very, very well established with very large networks, there are people over there that are reaching in excess of 100 kilometers. That is not the norm, and that does not rely on just one person having a superior location. For edge cases like that with 100 kilometers plus, that's two hotspots that actually have superior location, and those two hotspots can still see one another even though there is an enormous amount of distance between them. You probably can't see it with the naked eye, but the radio frequencies are still actually being able to work between the two of them. So you've got to be in a place that actually has a lot of hotspots. Don't stick it out in the country on its own and expect that you are going to make any HNT, because you are going to be really disappointed, and in 2 or 3 months' time you'll go, this was a big waste of time, and worse still, a big waste of money. So make sure that you are looking to build in an area that there are other hotspots, or that you are looking to build your own network. Okay, you could be out there in the country. Don't put a hotspot. You're going to need to build a network of hotspots. That I would realistically say that if you're wanting to do that, look at a network of 5. Now, I have a video on my YouTube channel. It was one of the first ones I did, how to generate 10 HNT a day. That was at a different time in the Helium journey. Getting 10 a day is a little bit of a bit of a push now. It's still not impossible, but it's definitely not the same world that we're living in. So, but that building that network is still the way to go. And you've got to have topography on your side. So if you are on the top of a hill, that's what we consider a good location, because you can see out a long way. But unfortunately, in the same breath, if you were at the bottom of the hill or you're in the bottom of a gully, guys, I've got to say that as much as we all want to maybe build that proof of coverage and earn the HNT, it's just probably not going to work for you. So take that into account when you're looking at this journey. Doesn't mean you can't buy a hotspot. It just means that you probably can't put it in that location. You may need to put it, family, friend, workplace, go and find another host, whatever it may be. So there you go. What makes a good location? Lots of hotspots, and have geography on your side. Number 2, and in fact, this is the one that I see most people looking to as the number 1. Because they've purchased their hotspot and it just seems to be a natural gravitation. There's enough chit chat out there on the internet, especially in the Helium community, all about super whiz bang, high dB antennas, high gain antennas. Guys, you don't need a high gain antenna to succeed in Helium. In fact, in many cases, the high gain antenna will be detrimental to you. It doesn't mean that they don't have their place, but guys, it's not just throw the highest dB gain antenna up on your roof and you are going to you're going to be raking it in. It does not work that way. So okay, antenna selection and placement. Now there's a lot of variables in this, so as you can consider, we all live in different locations. We've got hotspots with greater distances between them. We've got hotspots, some of us live in a city, some of us live in the suburbs, some of us live out in the country, some of us are surrounded by hundreds of hotspots, some of us are surrounded by only half a dozen hotspots. Or maybe the hotspots, the closest ones to you, are 20 or 30 kilometers away. You might be right on the edge of a large provincial town where there are lots of hotspots, nothing in your area. So, all right, perfect antenna. The one that comes on your hotspot, the little rubber ducky antenna that looks like something that you would have had on your walkie-talkie back when you were a kid. Guys, they've got their place. I'm not going to say that they don't work, because they do, but they don't work if you are wanting to maximize your setup, which is the theory, which is the principle of this particular video here. So you are going to want an external antenna. An external antenna, if you're in the city, this is a very generalized statement here, guys, so don't take this as gospel that this is exactly what you have. And remember, I'm not an expert in this, so do your own research if you've got any hesitation whatsoever. 3 dBi if you're in the city. If you have got a lot of hotspots around you in your close proximity, you're going to want a 3 dBi, because a 3 dBi will give you a rather short, but it'll give you a very fat range. So you will hit more hotspots that are closer to you, but at the expense that you're not going to hit hotspots a long way away. But if you've got a lot of hotspots around you, you don't need to hit those ones a long way away in order to succeed. If you're in the suburbs, now I'm in the suburbs, I'm about 25 kilometers from Brisbane here in Queensland, and I have got a 5.8 dBi antenna. The 5.8 dBi antenna is ideal. It's a really great middle ground. It still has penetration, and it still has a bit of an area there, an arc that you can still receive signal through, that you can still strike those hotspots that are closer to you, but you can reach out that little bit further. Now, if you're in the flat country area, or you are on the top of a hill and you have got, this is the scenario I went through before, where the hotspots may be 20 or 30 kilometers away from you. This is where the high gain antenna, the 8 dBi antenna, or maybe even a 9, is going to be ideal for you, because you can actually put that on the ground. It's going to have a laser beam. It's going to shoot out. It's not going to sort of do particularly well for hotspots in your general area, but the reason that you're using this is the fact that you don't have any in your general area. You're looking to hit the ones that are far away. So okay, generalization, 3 dBi for the city, 5.8 if you're in the suburbs, 8 dBi if you're in flat country. And the biggest secret above all else, guys, and in fact, I should have put this one even above the type of antenna, because this is the key to success. Short of putting it in a place where there are other hotspots, it's put your antenna as high as you can. If you can get 5 meters above your roof line, assuming that your roof line is typical for the houses that are in your general area, 5 meters above your roof is going to have a fantastic line of sight, and your hotspot is going to be able to see through that antenna out a good 20 or 30 kilometers without any problem at all. The lower you take it down, the less your distance is going to be. Think of how far you can see when you're standing on the top of a mountain. Because of the curvature of the earth, you can see so much further when you're on the top of a hill. If you're down at sea level, you can only see so far. Your hotspot is exactly the same. So place it as high as you can. Put it in your roof if you can't put it outside of your roof. That's not as ideal as having it 5 meters above. Remember, this is all about maximizing. There are a lot of things in between that you could choose to do here, but placing it inside your roof, inside your ceiling area, the attic as they call it in the US, is a great alternative to having that antenna outside if you're worried about the elements or lightning or being stolen or people seeing your antenna, whatever it may be. You could also put it on the gutter of your property outside, or even affix it to your windowsill, because that's better than having it inside. Radio frequency reduces every time that it needs to pass through something. It loses some of its energy, and that includes glass, wall, plaster, trees. It's not like it gets blocked by everything because the signal does pass through it, but it reduces its intensity, everything that it needs to go through. So by reducing as many obstacles as you can, you are going to maximize that earnings. So there you go. All right, if you want maximum, stick it as high as you can on the roof. I'd suggest a 5 dBi antenna and away you go. Of course, if you've got a 5 dBi antenna, you're going to need to get cable to actually run down to your hotspot. I'll address that one in just a moment. So I'll talk about internet connection because that antenna cable, in a way, sort of fits into this one as well. We'll bundle it in. Internet connection. How do you control your internet? Well, of course, if your hotspots are capable of connecting to the internet, in turn connecting to the blockchain via Wi-Fi through your router. But if we are wanting to maximize our setup, the best solution is to be hardwired through Ethernet cable. So if you can put Ethernet cable from your router or from your modem all the way to your hotspot, wherever that happens to be, that is going to be the best solution. And then your antenna cable runs from your hotspot through to your antenna. Now you could choose to put your hotspot, if this is just a scenario here, you want to place your hotspot antenna 5 meters above your roof. The coax cable that we connected in between our hotspot and our antenna, the longer that is, the more loss you have in your signal strength. Think of it like a soaker hose, if you like. The further it's being pushed, the more of it leaks out, the less there's coming out the other end. A cable is exactly the same as that. I would suggest, it's not in this presentation here, I'm thinking I probably should have put it in, but I'll just mention it here. LMR 200 is what I would suggest if you are looking for a cable length that is 5 meters or shorter. If you are wanting to go greater than 5 meters, I would suggest LMR 400 or equivalent. So when you go to a cable store, and you can find them online, and there are also a bunch of suppliers here in Australia, it is not a specialized product, unlike the Helium hotspots, and even the antennas are hard to find here in Australia. Cable, guys, you can get anywhere. So you can ask for an LMR 200/400 equivalent, and they will give you a cable that's the same if it is not in fact LMR. If you are going greater than 5, as I say 400, you're ideally here, if you can keep your cable loss down to 10 meters, is ideal. But if you want to get your antenna really high, my antenna here at my house is going to be 15 meters above my roof. Now that's 15 meters, so it's a bit impractical to keep my cable at 10 meters. So I'm going to actually have a 15 meter cable. In fact, it will probably be about 17 to 18 by the time I have enough cable to get it into the box. Will that have additional loss? Yes, it will, but it will be more than compensated by the additional height that I'm getting, the additional line of sight that I'm getting from my antenna. Anyway, coming back to the connection, run your power, or rather your internet, to your hotspot via Ethernet as opposed to Wi-Fi for best solutions. If that's impractical, guys, that's fine. Wi-Fi will still work. There are many people that are using Wi-Fi with great results. You want to have a good quality, high-speed internet connection. Now, some of us have pretty dodgy internet where we are in Australia, and some of us have fantastic internet. Now, unfortunately, you can't always control that. You basically take what you can get. But sometimes even just in amongst providers, you can get ones that have higher bandwidth, etc. So what I would suggest is the best quality high-speed internet that you can afford is the one that I would go for. Because remembering here that the whole Helium journey, the whole Internet of Things, has two components. There is radio frequencies, there's radio waves that are going hotspot to hotspot. So that's working through radio waves. However, the rest of the equation all happens via the internet. And we want to give ourselves the best chance for success. So having the best quality internet connection will improve your chances of maximizing your earnings. And that includes your modem or your router. If you have got a modem or router that is maybe 5 to 10 years old, possibly it could be worth upgrading it, because you are going to need to adjust some settings in your modem or router, and we'll talk about that shortly. But that may entail you upgrading your router. So it's something to consider. Okay, that's not a must-do, but it's something to consider. Question number 4. Well, actually, this isn't a question so much. This is really just a statement of maximizing that HNT is get started as soon as possible. Okay, every day you wait is a day later that you are getting on, and you snooze, you lose. Every day does count. Guys, it is really, the time is of the essence in the Helium network. We have got literally hundreds of thousands of hotspots coming online. Now, the hundreds of hotspots is a bit of a double-edged sword, because the more hotspots means that's more people sharing the HNT that is produced on that day, because it's not limitless. There's only a certain amount, and we all share it based on what we essentially give back to the network through Internet of Things coverage. Why, if you've got a good setup, you'll probably be rewarded more. If you were to have an area that is highly saturated with hotspots, like many locations in the US and also Europe, they are right now, if they get new hotspots, they are starting on the back foot. They are really in a compromised situation, because there's a lot of people all fighting for the same traffic, if you like. So the reasons that the price will go down, in addition to the amount of hotspots, is also for the halving, which we have just had recently. Now, we don't have another halving for 2 years, but it's coming. So guys, I would just suggest, don't think about it, just do it. You won't regret your decision, I feel, in another 2 or 3 months. Question number 5 is look after your hotspot. Or once again, this is not a question per se. This is just your 5 tips here to HNT success. Look after your hotspot. A healthy hotspot is a happy hotspot. And a happy hotspot, now I'm getting a bit tongue-tied, will produce the best results. So these are the things not to do. Don't place it outside unless it's in a proper enclosure. Okay, your indoor Helium hotspot is not designed to be outside. Doesn't mean you can't put it out there. You just need to put it in a proper box or enclosure, and that's not a plastic bag, which many people did going back maybe 6 months ago when Helium was still very new in the US and Europe. Yes, put them in plastic bags. No, that's not what you do. Don't barbecue your hotspot. Okay, we live in a really hot place here in Australia. New Zealand maybe not so much, and of course there are places in Australia where it's not so warm, but we still have a very hot sun. Your hotspot is an electronic device, so it is really beneficial to try and keep it in a place where it is not going to be belted by the direct sun for a long duration. Of course, it doesn't mean that it can't have sun on it at all, but you're going to find the best results if you keep your hotspot in an area where it has some shade, so it can keep cool. It's a little mini computer. It's going to produce heat, and it needs to cool itself. The Sensecap has a fan, which makes it a vast improvement over some of the other hotspots, but it's still to be proven how much of a difference it actually makes. But keep your hotspot in a cool location. Set up port forwarding as required. I mentioned that briefly before through internet. You need to go into your router or your modem, and you need to arrange port forwarding. Now, it's not the subject in this particular video. We'll cover that one in a further one if you can't find any resources online for that. But you need to set up port forwarding to maximize your earnings with HNT. Don't let your hotspot sleep. Now, it sounds a bit weird, I know, but your hotspot is a little mini computer, and it's designed to do things every so often. But guys, just because of the technology and the space, and this is what I believe is factual, but guys, I don't have a hotspot here yet, so I'm relying on the words of other people here. Apparently, your hotspot can sometimes go into a sleep phase, and it takes a little bit to wake it up. And because it takes a bit to wake it up, it makes it a bit slower. And when it's a bit slower, it just effectively does not work. So we need to keep it awake. And the best way that we can do that is by fitting a couple of sensors around our house. So it might be a temperature sensor, it might be a location sensor, it could be a moisture sensor, could be anything like that. Maybe you want to put a sensor on your pet's bowl, on your water bowl, so that it tells you when the water bowl is reached half level. Or maybe it's a moisture sensor out in the backyard to know if it needs water or not. There's a bunch of applications that we can find here, guys. This is not a must-do. It's just if you're wanting to maximize, don't let your hotspot go to sleep. And then don't connect or disconnect cables whilst it is still turned on. It's an electronic device here, guys. If you unplug or plug anything in whilst it is turned on and running, you run the risk of electrical shorting inside. Not good for your hotspot, and they are worth approximately $800 Australian at the time of recording. So that's a really expensive little item if you do damage it. Okay, so just coming up, there's our 5 tips. And now, guys, as you've probably noticed with most of my videos, I do tend to elaborate and talk a bit. So let's just give them to you in final summary point form. 5 dot points. Find a location that is not too dense, but also is not void of other hotspots. Install your antenna high above the ground. 5 meters above your roof line is perfect if you can manage to achieve that. Get a good, reliable, high-speed internet connection. Okay, if you've got a dodgy old ISP, it's time to upgrade them. It'll cost you a little bit more, but hopefully your HNT generation will more than offset that. Install your hotspot as soon as you can. Stop thinking about it, guys. Take action. Do it now, and take care of your hotspot. Okay, don't bake it in the sun and don't stick it outside. It's not meant to be out there. Guys, if you manage to do all of those things, I can tell you by Christmas 2021, hopefully you're watching this before then. If you're not, guys, thanks so much for looking at old videos. That's really cool. But by 2021, we are going to have a very different landscape to what we have right now here in Australia. And we are all going to have a very, very happy HNT season. I can promise you that. We are going to have probably close on 1,000. At least 10 times the hotspots that we have now will be online by Christmas time, assuming no unplanned catastrophe. So, okay, guys, there you have it. Hopefully you've got some content out of this that's worthwhile. If this is your first time watching the video and you have not subscribed, do me a favor and yourself a favor as well. Hit the subscribe button. And you know what? The great thing is it costs you absolutely nothing. Zero. You don't get spammed. You just basically get notified when I put a video up. And just because you get notified doesn't mean you have to watch it. But sometimes people get really disappointed when they miss some time-sensitive information. So hit the subscribe button. And then last of all, you know how us YouTubers are here. We like to know that you like the content we produce. So hit the like button, okay? The thumbs up message is going to tell me the fact that you've enjoyed the content. It will help the YouTube algorithm to prioritize the video and more people will see the content. Alrighty, folks, there we have it. Our top 5 secrets. Hopefully you've got something out of it. I will look forward to seeing you on the next Helium Down Under video. Helium Down Under, out.